Hello and welcome to Module 5. During Module 5 you will be looking at personality disorders, and during Module 5 in particular you'll be looking at clusters A and B. Please make sure to look at the PowerPoint presentations that are attached to this module, and also please make sure to answer the discussion questions and read chapters 14 and 15 of the Gabbard book. Some of the things that you'll be looking at during you'll be reading about in the personality disorders is some of the features that are characteristics of some of the personality disorders, and some of the things that are pretty consistent in many of the personality disorders are things like an inflexibility, a lack of adaptability and inflexibility in their personalities, difficulties in modulating strong affect, dysfunctional interpersonal relationships, and a tendency to foster vicious cycles. They tend to self-perpetuate many of these cycles. As you will see when we talk about a few of these personality disorders right now, that you will see a lot of these tendencies tend to repeat themselves in many of the personality disorders. So in cluster A, there's several characteristics that define the three clusters A, B, and C. Cluster A personality disorders tend to be odd and eccentric, and we classify paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal under cluster A. Cluster B personality disorders tend to be dramatic, emotional, or erratic personality disorders, and under those we have borderline, antisocial, histrionic, and narcissistic. And during your next module, Module 6, you'll be looking at some of Cluster 6 personality disorders, and under those tend to be more of the anxious or fearful personality disorders, and under that we have avoidant, dependent, and obsessive compulsive personality disorders. So under Cluster A personality disorders, you will be looking at, you'll be reading about paranoid personality disorder, schizoid, and schizotypal. Some of the paranoid personality disorder characteristics, they tend to be very, they tend to be very mistrustful and suspicious of others, to a degree that their motives almost always tend to be interpreted as mean in nature. The schizoid personality disorder features, these characteristics are pervasive. They tend to show a pattern of detachment. These clients or personality disorders tend to show a pattern of detachment from social relationships and a very restricted range of emotional expressions. And schizoid personality disorders tend to begin very early on in adolescence and early in adulthood. The schizotypal personality disorder is a very pervasive pattern of social and interpersonal deficits marked by acute discomfort with and reduced capacity for close relationships, and accompanied by cognitive and perceptual distortions and various eccentrics of behavior. The former include ideas of reference, superstitions, and magical thinking. In the Cluster B personality disorders, you'll be looking at and reading about antisocial personality disorder, histrionic, and borderline, and narcissistic. And as you might be familiar, because many of you will be maybe working with antisocial personality, so some of the perversive pattern of antisocial personality is a disregard for and a violation of rights of others, and it tends to begin early in childhood and continues into adulthood. For the histrionic personality disorder, some of the features are pervasively excessive emotionality and attention-seeking behavior across a variety of contexts. And for the borderline personality disorder, some of the features that are characteristic is a pervasive pattern of unstable interpersonal relationships, unstable and widely fluctuating self-image, dysregulated affect, and marked behavioral impulsivity. And lastly, the last one that you'll be reading about is narcissistic personality disorder. And with narcissistic personality, some of the pervasive features or patterns is a sense of grandiosity, overvalued self-worth, exaggerated sense of self-importance, entitlement, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. So these are the personality disorders in clusters A and B that you will be reading about. I hope you enjoy the chapters, the PowerPoint presentations, and the discussion questions. Thank you very much.